So today what we're going to be looking at is actually how to build a Harry Potter style sorting hat. So I've just gone to the official Harry Potter website, and basically the whole premise of this is that every single time you get asked a question before you get sorted into your house, you get asked like 50-50 questions. You click on an answer, that gets saved, and then you go on to the next one. Okay, some of them aren't quite 50-50 questions, but the idea is that you keep getting asked different questions and then you're going to get sorted into your house. So I thought it might actually be interesting to show you guys how you'd go about doing something like this in Python. So, first thing that you're going to need is you're going to need a text file with your questions in and your answers and your links to whichever house they're in. So let me just explain this text file here. The first part of this is the question. So like I said, we're literally just going to give everybody 50-50 chances, like answers. It's just to make things easier when we start adding things up in a minute. So we've got a question here, moon or sun, and then they have to literally answer whether it's moon, whether they think moon or sun, and then it will, it's about a feelings thing, so then it'll be sorted into their right house. So we've got one answer of moon separated by a comma, one answer sun separated by a comma, and these keys here represent which house these answers belong to. So moon belongs to S, which is Slytherin, and sun belongs to G, which is Gryffindor. And the key has to go the same way around each time. So first answer, first house, second answer, second house, like that. You don't want to be getting these confused because then your sorting will be wrong. And it carries on this way the whole way through. So strong or proud, answer 1 strong, answer 2 proud, and then the correct links. So Hufflepuff for strong, Ravenclaw for proud. And keep going, keep going. If Harry Potter doesn't make any sense to you, you're not interested in Harry Potter, you can probably do this with a number of different quizzes, something that kind of builds a portfolio on somebody and then sorts them into something. So what Disney princess you are, things like that, they all kind of work on a similar kind of premise. So literally the whole premise of this text file is question both of the answers that the user can answer, and then in the right order, what house each one of these answers links to. And at the end, just do end comma as well, and then we'll go from that. Okay, so let's have a look and get Python started. I'm going to open up idle, and we're going to do file and new, and I'm just going to go file and save as, and I'm just on the desktop going to call it sorting hat. And save it. So there's my sorting hat Python file, and there's the text file I showed you earlier as well. So what we need to do first of all, little intro for our users, just like we would do usually. Welcome to the sorting hat. Answer the questions to find your Hogwarts house. And then what we want to do is, first of all, just like normal, we need to open that file. So file equals open, and we're going to open it. So the file is called sorting hat, sortinghat.txt. And we want to open it in read mode because we don't want the user to be doing anything with it by accident. We want to read the first line of the file in, so line equals file.readline. We then want to split the line, so I'm going to split it and I'll save it as this variable called sorting hat. So sorting hat equals line.split, and remember in the brackets here we're going to tell it what to split by, so we're going to split it by the commas. And then that is it for setting up the actual reading of the file. Now we're going to just set up the while loop, which is going to read through the questions and it's going to save people's answers as we go. So the first thing we're going to have is we're going to create an empty variable called Hogwarts house, and it's actually an empty list. And we're going to create these empty square brackets, which means it's an empty list, and we're going to place things into this list as we go. At the moment there's nothing in it, which is good, that's what we want. As the user answers questions, we're going to put whether or not their answer was a Gryffindor answer or a Ravenclaw answer into this list, and at the end we're going to evaluate this list to see what they answered more of. It'll become clearer as we go through it. So we need a while loop here, and we're going to say while sorting hat 0 is not equal to end, so just like we've done before. So we're basically saying that while the first position, while this position here is not equal to end, which is this, you can carry on answering questions because I've not got to the end. So just like normal, you can add as many questions as you want, but just make sure they go here before the end bit, and make sure you don't leave any blank lines either. Now, once I've done that, what I want to do is I want to print out the question. So the question on these is going to be stored at sorting hat position 0. So I want to print out the question there, and then I want to give the user the two different answers, 0, 1 and 2. So I've split the line by every comma, which makes, because I've split it by the comma, it means that this line here now is positions 0, 1 and 2. So now, because that's saved into sorting hat, position 0 is the question, position 1 is the first answer, position 2 is the second answer. And if you wanted to do this and give 4 answers, you could do that. You just need to make sure you consistently make everything 4 questions and 4 answers, 4 answers and then 4 keys to those answers. Talk about that more in a bit. We now need to just capture the user's input. So guess equals input, and then type 1 or 2. So I'm doing this quickly. So what I'm going to do is here I'm going to print, and before each print statement I'm going to print 1 and 2. So now they've got a 1 and 2, and they've got an answer there, and then when we've got type 1 or 2, it's going to be very obvious to the user what it is I'm talking about. So then that is going to be saved, and then we're going to move on to actually sorting them from there. So if the guess was equal to the number 1, so if the user typed 1, I'm going to I'm going to add an item into this list, and I'll show you that in a second. So Hogwarts house dot append, and the item I'm going to append is sorting hat 3. So what I'm saying here, we need to go back to our text file to fully understand it. What I'm saying here is if the user has answered 1, so in this question here, if they answer 1, it means moon. Well, moon is linked to the key for Slytherin, so this S. So what I'm saying is, if they answer 1, take this position and save it into this list. So that means that if they've answered 1, I've actually saved, that's a Slytherin answer, into the list. If they answer 2, I'm going to take position 4 and save that into the list. So I know, that's a Gryffindor answer. I'll save that into the list. We'll see this all working out in a second. So for each one of these, I need to, once I've correctly got an answer, I need to read the next line and split the next line again. And now I'm going to do my elif statement. So elif guess equals 2. So if it's equal to 2, you can hopefully guess by now that we're going to put position 4 into our list. So if they answer sun, that links to the Gryffindor answer, so G is going to be saved into this list here. And we're going to look at how this is actually going to allow us to sort people in just a second. Now for everything else that they type in, you can add some more validation in here so it makes it a bit easier for the user, but for everything else I'm just going to say something like guess equals input, number not allowed, try again. So the user knows whatever they've typed it wasn't allowed, they only need to type 1 or 2. And that is more or less it for the main loop. What we need to do now, so let's actually just have a look at this running. Actually, what we'll do is we will print Hogwarts house, so you can see how this works. So let's run it and have a look. Okay, so we can see straight away we've got our first question here. Moon or sun. Why is this doing that? Ah, right, you can see what I've done here. I've put the 1 and the 2 in the wrong place. Obviously, position 1 was question 1 and position 2 was question 2. So actually, let's just fix that. So it's going to look a bit confusing. So that one there doesn't need anything. This one here needs 1. And this one here should be the one that's 2. I'm sure a lot of you caught that well before I even did it. Well before you even ran it. So let's try again. There we go. So moon or sun, type 1 or 2. So I'm just going to go through these. 1. So we see it's working. 1, 2, 1, and 1. Okay. So now I've got a key in my list which tells me which answers my user actually took. So 1 Slytherin answer, 1 Ravenclaw, 1 Hufflepuff, and another Ravenclaw. So if this was the end of my quiz, I would obviously say that because they've answered 2 for Ravenclaw, that would be the house that we would put them in. Sounds simple. So what I need to do with this variable here is I actually need to count up the amount of times, the amount of G's that are in it, the amount of R's that are in it, the amount of S's, and the amount of H's that are in it. Because obviously my key, I'm only looking at these letters here at the end, so I need the amount of each one, and then once I've got the amount I can work out which house they belong to. So it's pretty, there's an inbuilt function to count these, and there's an inbuilt function to sort these as well. So if we do variable name Gryffindor, you can just do G if you want, and what I'm going to do is that list, Hogwarts house, I'm going to count all the G's and return that number to this variable here. So what this does, this counts every time a G appears in this list and then returns the number to this variable. So if I answered 2 Gryffindor questions as Gryffindor, this would return the number 2. And then that'll allow us in a second to do the next bit. So what I then want to do is I need to do the same for all of the other houses as well. So here they all are. I made a couple of mistakes to go through, so just check, obviously, Gryffindor's G, Slytherin's S, Ravenclaw's R, and Hufflepuff H. And I've obviously called this Hogwarts House, so make sure you call it Hogwarts House all the way through if you're following my naming conventions. So next thing we want to do, is we want to work out which one of these is the biggest number. So there's a number of different ways we can do this, but I like using this method. So I'm going to create a new variable called sorted list, and I'm going to sort these from largest to smallest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the function sorted, and I'm going to say inside sorted I want the following things. Now I'm going to create a list, and it's going to be a list of different data types. So let me just write them down, and then we'll go through them. So first thing I want is Gryffindor and the string, which is G. Now the bracket's going to get a bit confusing here, so just pay attention to what they are. I've got sorted has got everything is in between 2 regular brackets. Then I open up some square brackets, which is going to contain a load of separate ones of these. Now, this is called a tuple. It's a piece of data which I cannot change. This piece of data contains the variable Gryffindor and the string G. I have to keep it consistent for every other place in this list. I'm not going to go on too much about that, but that's why this is looking a little bit weird. So I'm now going to do exactly the same for all the rest of it. So once I've done this, separate by a comma, Slytherin. Okay, and that's it. So, oh, see, I've gone wrong there. Right, and that is it there. So, I've got in one set of brackets Gryffindor and the string for G, separated by a comma, Slytherin and the string for S, separated by a comma, Ravenclaw R, Hufflepuff H. At the beginning and end, it should be regular bracket, square bracket before you get into these. And again, at the end here, square bracket and then go into a regular bracket, okay? Doesn't matter about the spacings, I've just put it that way to make it a little bit easier for you to see. So within the sorted function, we can give it two more arguments. We can give it a key to sort on, and we can give it a whether or not it's going to be ascending or descending. So in this case, we are not going to give a key. So key equals false. The capital F, yeah. And then reverse is going to equal true. And basically we want it to be in reverse because we want the item with the biggest number to be the first item in the list, basically. This is what I'm basically just saying here. Once we've done that, let's print out the sorted list. Let's print out so if I print out sorted list 0, this should be the house which we answered the most answers for. So if we run this and have a look at it, okay, so I've realised the problem. This second argument, it doesn't take a boolean, it just takes whether or not there is a key. So if there is no key, we just need to write none in there. Let's run this again, and hopefully it's going to work this time. 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, so let's have a look at the list we've got. So this one here, this top one here, is the amount of our answers for each question. So Slytherin, Hufflepuff, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw. So I've got 2 Hufflepuffs. So that should be what my house is. So if we look, once I've sorted the list, and I now print out sorted list 0, so the first position in the list, 2 Hufflepuffs. So it actually is sorting it. So the item that I asked the most of is at the front of the list. Now we can do our last part of this, which is to tell the user what house they actually are with a simple if, elif, and else statement. So I do if sorted list 0. So what I need to do is I need to say if so what I'm saying here is if that letter G is in that first list item, because that list item is just a number which we won't be able to work out, but it'll also be a letter which we will know. If that letter is G, do the following. So we're going to print and then we're going to do it with another if statement. So if S and that should be it, because there definitely won't be any other letters apart from G, S, R, and H in that list, so we can leave it there. So let's test it. Let's actually test it and get rid of this red text. Okay, moving on, strong or proud, friend or foe, friends abroad. There we go, so 2 H's leaves me in Hufflepuff, which I think is pretty accurate. So have a little look for yourselves. Remember that the more questions you add to the text file, the more questions that you add, the better that your quiz will be, because you'll have more questions for your friends and family to answer, and you'll get more accurate results as to what house they'll actually be in. So I hope you enjoyed that, and come back next week for some more.